Happy Heritage Day! Welcome to the Mining and Rollo Jameson Museum in Platteville. My name is Wendy Johnson, and I am Vice President of the Grant County Master Gardener Volunteer Group. We are here today in the Gale and West Cobb Memorial Pollinator Garden. We're going to do a little mini tour and talk about how the garden came to be. The museum contacted the Master Gardener Group wanting to create a garden out front since they had a great new space with the new landscaping. We just decided on doing a pollinator butterfly garden. The plan that we laid out was to kind of do a color block. So this end of the garden, we decided to do warm colors. And then the middle section, we have white and green plants, which are actually some host plants for butterfly caterpillars. And then the last section of the garden is more of a cool color palette. The gardens were designed to have something blooming all season. So it started in spring, probably April. And so every month something will be in bloom, hopefully until September, October. So blooming right now, we have some yarrow, a red yarrow, and what's left of the dianthus, which looked really good this spring. So there's a little carryover between seasons. This is a great pollinator plant because the bees love it, and the butterflies can land right on top and feed in all those individual little flowers. The goal was to be a pollinator and butterfly garden, and we've included several species of milkweed in hopes of eventually maybe being a monarch way station. Right here, this pink variety is a swamp milkweed, and it will grow in average to wet soils. Not something as common as you see. And then this is a white variety of the swamp milkweed. And then our last variety of milkweed is the common butterfly weed. And this one is just starting to bloom here. And that's the orange flowers that you see more typically. This species tends to prefer average to drier soil. So this is a little challenging site for it, but it's doing well. Here we have a catmint, a lower, smaller growing variety. They come in lots of different sizes, but it is a pollinator magnet. There have been bees all over this as we stand here and talk. It looks good all season because once these flowers fade, we can just give it a haircut and it will rebloom. He's busy. It's like a little honeybee. The bumblebees are the big, fat, black and yellow bees that you see buzzing around. Honeybees are your typical bee, what you see that would be in a hive or that make the honey in the. And bumblebees are not aggressive. There's a bumblebee right there. They're not aggressive. They just want the nectar and the pollen. There's lots of little flies on here too, which are actually pollinators. People think of bees and butterflies, but there's lots of varieties of little flies that are good pollinators as well. This is a salvia, Caradonna salvia. And there's a little bumblebee working that too. I see 1, 2, 3 bumblebees in there already. They're busy. So this is the start of more of a foundation garden in the corner of the bed. And we have peonies blooming in here. They're a real nice bright pink. Kansas is the variety. So I wanted something bright to catch your eye from down on Main Street, and the rest of these perennials will do that as well when they start blooming. That's a Carl Forrester grass, and it's just a clump forming grass. People get scared of grass because they think it's gonna take over their bed. This grass probably will not get much bigger than that. These are species of purple coneflower. They're just starting to set flowers, so give them another 2 weeks and they're gonna look great. right, so this corner is kind of the foundation garden of the bed. I wanted it to be eye-catching from downtown Platteville and set off the new sign that they put up. This is a catmint, and this is a yellow dogwood shrub, which dogwoods are native here, but I thought this one would be really eye-catching, the color. And then some yellow coreopsis, which hasn't filled in because everyone thought it was a weed and kept pulling it. This is the future site of a native plant garden. We're not going to plant a literal prairie, but we're going to use prairie plants, native plants to Wisconsin area. We have a connection to the museum through the plants that we got for the prairie. Corinne and Patrick Daniels, who work for Taylor Creek Restoration Nursery, and they provided the plants for the prairie planting. Their family has a long history of volunteering at the museum. So one of the goals of these plantings was to have an educational component to them. So this is going to be a great example. We have real clay soil conditions here, and so the people from Taylor Creek sent plants that would work in clay conditions. And then we have a couple of little microclimates too. There's a wet area where the water drains from the eave spout, and so that's another condition people might have in their yards. We have plants that will work in wet spots. And then the very end of that bed tends to be a gravelly, dry condition, and we have prairie plants that will work in that area as well. So one of the educational goals is to have signage explaining about the pollinator garden, the different types of pollinators, the different type of plantings that we have that are native to the driftless region. These are the plants from Taylor Creek Nursery that are going to go into our prairie style garden. They have, just to name some of them, they have a native coreopsis here and some native purple coneflower, which you see a lot of in the prairie. I think when people see prairies, that's what they think of. Prairie dock, which is a big leaf on the bottom, and then it gets very tall, so that will be kind of a showstopper in the prairie garden. And lots of native grasses. Prairie typically has just as much more grass than they do flowers. We're not going quite that far, but there will be a lot of native grasses. Native switchgrass, prairie dropseed, and a carex, which is is not a grass, but it looks like a grass. It's a sedge. One of the plants we're including in the prairie planting is the lead plant, which is very appropriate for the mining museum. The history behind this plant is it has very deep root system, and they used to look for the lead deposits where there were deep crevices, and they thought this plant was a good indicator of where they might find the lead. So this little section of the garden, we kind of dedicated some host plants. Host plants are plants that are specific to a species of butterfly. They're caterpillars. They lay their eggs on those plants. The caterpillars will only eat those plants. So we talked about the milkweed, and everyone knows that that's a host plant for the monarch butterfly. But we also have some parsley in here, curly parsley. Parsley is a host plant for the black swallowtail butterfly. So these plants are small now, but they will fill out the front here. Last year when we put these in, they were loaded with caterpillars by, I think it was August or September, they were on there. And parsley is something you have to plant every year. It doesn't come back. We have some coreopsis, which is a tick seed, this yellow one here. And this is a blanket flower, Gaillardia. There's lots of varieties of that, but I chose a bicolor one just to mix it up. This is another nice ornamental grass. This is actually a switchgrass, which is a native grass. But this particular variety will start to get red throughout the summer. And it's another one that stays in a nice clump and won't run and take over your garden. This is only the second year for the planting. It went in last year, so this is the first year for it to really grow. Next year, the third year, this bed will be full. All these plants will be double the size that they are right now.